Thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast series, where we profile those who have overcome or those who are in the process of overcoming any life topic. We have three objectives with this podcast series. Our first objective is we want you to know that whatever you're experiencing in life, whatever you're encountering, you're not alone. We want to join you to let you know that we together can help you through whatever challenge you may have that at the time may seem too difficult to be able to overcome. Our second objective is to help you determine with a very confident resolve there are multiple solutions, multiple factors involved in any life encounter. It's a matter of thinking into and thinking through the life situation you are encountering to determine the various options, the various solutions that are available to you. Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If whatever you're experiencing is a result of a decision you made sometime in the past, such that if you had a life redo, you would make a different decision, we want to help you determine the objective facts and factors to evaluate to help you reach a more informed decision. I'm Ron Cooper, founder of the Cooper Culture. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty. Together, we are the Cooper Culture, and the Cooper Culture is sponsoring this podcast series. Today, we feature Kimberly Bell for the second episode, where she comes back to us to talk a little bit more about how she overcame and is in the process of overcoming traumatic life events, the most important of which, the most domineering of which for her, was the non-acceptance by her biological mom. That caused some PSD, some life, almost to some degree, some irrevocable challenges in her life, but she is, as she explains, still overcoming. Marty, what are some takes that we can gain from Kimberly Bell, who is known as Kimmy?
Ron, as we listen to Kimberly, you soon learn or hear how she has become a strong, determined lady. Kimberly does not look back. She looks forward to continue making responsible decision choices for the betterment of herself and her family.
Kimberly emphasizes choices. Whatever happens in your life is a matter of choice. She will never let her background, her past, determine her future. Let's listen together and be inspired. Kimberly, thank you for joining us again for a second episode. For our listeners who are joining you for the first time, I'm going to strongly recommend they look for your first episode where you detailed and chronicled your life of a lot of things that have happened, not being accepted by your biological mom. You've been through divorces, you've been through maybe more in life than most people have who are much older than you. But Kimberly, we admire you for having overcome much of the adversity in your life. I want to encourage our listeners to buy your book that explains and chronicles a lot of your life. Kimmy, Embracing Everything in Life. Great to have you back with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron and Marty. I appreciate it. I appreciate being back here. I really do.
Pick up where we left off. I'm wondering, in the context of your life and what you chronicled in our first episode, but you have experienced or you are experiencing and maybe recovering from PTSD and some of prior events in your life. How have you been able to go forward? You have a great smile. I just love it. How are you able to even be happy and not have a falseness about it? But how do you go forward with life, knowing your background? In other words, part of what I'm alluding to, Kimmy, is how do you live for the future and not let the past dictate your future? Can you help our listeners a little bit more with that? Those listeners who might be right now experiencing life encounters, and encourage them that you do not necessarily have to let the past dictate your future.
Yeah, well, first, Ron, to really be honest, I choose every day. And I tried to explain to people we make choices, more choices than we actually really believe that we do if we start thinking about from the very moment that God allows us to have the life and our eyes are open and breath is in our body, we start choosing. And we choose more than what we think we really do and deal with the consequences. We choose to get up, we choose to shower, some choose not to shower, some choose to, but in essence, we choose so many things and during our whole day that we really don't actually realize. And so what I have done, I have adopted this going to investing in myself, and I choose every morning to be the best I can be, to give the love that I have to give, to receive the love that will come. I choose the happiness. I choose however that my day is going to go, I'm going to be able to handle it. I choose also to, if I feel like an anxiousness or it was a major decision not too long ago that I had to do as far as my job, that once I choose that decision, I'll deal with the consequence. I don't let it consume me. Just go with what I had chose to do and deal with the decision. I do that first, is that I make this choice. And once I make the choice, if I need some support system to come along with the choice, I'll do that. And sometimes I do have some days that I'll call one of my adult daughters to meet up after work and we'll get dinner out and I'll kind of vent with her, or I'll just take a break. I've been, like I said, as far as investing in myself now, because of the weather hasn't been as good as I would like it to be, but I'll do my walks before I clock in, and that gives me my self-care, that little serenity. I love music, so I use that as my therapeutic skills for me to listen. I listen to all kinds of it, and so my playlist is just from variation from Aretha to whomever, but I know that helps me to wind down, or it helps me to just relax. So that's one thing that I do. I start with that.
One thing I'm taking from what you're saying, and again, for our listeners, the book, The Epitome of Kimmy, Accept and Embrace It All, is that you know yourself. You know Kimberly Ann Bell. You know what makes you happy. You know what can pull you down. And by knowing yourself, I call that a very healthy self-awareness. You know exactly, it seems, what you need to do to rest, recharge, to get your day started correct. And you're very eloquent in saying it is your choice. So you, it seems, choose to do what you know you need to do to get your day started right. And in spite of what you've been through, you know what you need to overcome and those kind of things. I don't want to say things that do not represent you, but that's what I take from some of what you're saying and after having read your book.
And I've took the time to invest in myself. I'm loving it. I have not found everything because, you know, we evolve as women, we change, my body's changed. I'm almost 50, Ron. I'm almost 50 with a little girl. So I'm telling you, sometimes it gets hard. I'm like, oh, I'm not 20 anymore. My patience and my mind is telling me that. But I'm happy to invest in myself. And years ago, when I had the little ones, when I was in my 20s and I was in my, probably before I was 25, had 4 kids, I really would think that it was so selfish. Oh, why would I invest in myself or find what Kim would like to do or do something that Kim would like to do instead of pouring it all in, you know, my children. So this has been a reward, and I encourage everybody, you know, as long as we have this earthly life, it is worth investing in yourself, to take the time to find out who you are, who you like. And that's what really got me to do some of these challenges, like you were speaking of, Ron, about being adopted and neither one of my parents fighting for me or coming back to get me, is that I had to invest in myself and say, hey, look, I'm a gift. I'm a beautiful, wonderful gift. I have this wonderful smile for the world. Just because they didn't receive it doesn't mean nobody else is going to receive it, you know? So I had to invest in myself and understand, oh, and guess what else I have, Ron? I'm very resilient. I'm a very determined, stubborn little lady. Once I put my mind to it, no matter what paper says that I would never read or write, or PTSD was not at that time acknowledged or tested, but the mild retardation was misdiagnosed. But I'm like, okay, so whatever was diagnosed, it's not going to stop me from getting I know I need to get for my children, for to build a legacy, to be a better me. If I know that I have to provide, even if I get married and I have to help provide, then this is my steps that I have to do in the career that I have to, that I choose to be in. And that is go back to school. Nothing's going to stop me from finishing going back to school and getting that piece of paper. Okay. And then what's next? Okay. For me to be in this career, I have to have at least a degree. Oh, well, nothing's going to stop me. And it took me 6 years of a 4-year degree, but I was determined I was not going to stop until somebody handed me a degree. Somebody was going to hand me a degree, Marty. I don't know who was when somebody was going to hand Kimmy this degree. So I invested in myself. I started finding more and more about myself and the characteristics and even the flaws. And as I started investing in myself and the flaws that was embedded in my head when I was young because of the different skin color, the features, I started laughing. I said, oh no, I rock, because there's nobody else's features could fit my face but me. That had to be for me. So that has just been enlightening, and getting people to understand. And though this is a part of me, it's a work. Do I have down moments? And will you have down moments? Yes. Mm-hmm. Not too long ago, I kind of went into my little shell, and I had to choose to come out, and it was missing my adopted dad. As I put in the book, he was the one that gave me that name, Kimmy. I didn't know how the Kimberly Bell, every last one of them, knew how Kimberly got here, but Kimmy and who it came from, of saying it was Kimmy, was just ironic for me, because he was my hero. He was like my first love. My protector was my adopted dad. He only had a third education, but when he said, Kimmy, everything is going to be all right, that was solid to me. So that's how that Kimmy came about. He was the one that just had that. And when he passed away in 97, when my son was born, and he was able to get to see all the 4 adult kids. My son was infant, so he doesn't remember him. But Manya don't know of her grandfather. But I went into a show after the books were released, and he wasn't here to see any of my graduations and stuff. And I know that even though with the COVID and everything, and he was a man that he always said, I don't want to be left in this world for anyone to have to take care of me. When it's time for me to go, I want to go. So he was just a man with wisdom, and he would tell me, Kimmy, I want you to be strong. You're a strong Black woman, and I'm so proud of you. But Daddy's not going to be here with you all the time. Daddy Bill is what I called him. And I would say to him, because things is not real until they're real. I would say, no, Daddy Bill, you can't believe in me now. You can't believe me now. But getting back to not too long ago, probably in about a week or a half, I got thinking about him in the book and telling my story and my journey, and not having a parent. And somebody probably can relate to what I'm saying, even if they're physically here, but just not having that structure or that parent to call you or text you and say, how are you doing? Baby, are you hungry? Have you did this? Have you did that? Have you did that? What's going on in your life? How's the kids going? Have you been this place? And how was your last trip? So I'm missing him. And I'm like, oh my God. Now, granted, this is what I do to all of my dogs. Periodically, I will just do a group text, or I'll say to the girls, hey, beautiful, you got it. You got the day. Have a great day, or something like that. Or we just had Sunday dinner, but not having a parent at all. Not now, my biological father, he's been dead, and he did get it right with me before he passed away. It's many of us. I can't tell you how many, but it's many of us. And before he passed away, he called for each one of us, and he sat and talked to us, made sure everything was right. So, but my biological mother is living, and I don't have a relationship with her, but I miss my father. I want a parent. I miss him. So I had my moment, and like I would share with the people, the viewers, you're going to have moments. But what I am constantly determined of is to pull from my support system so that I won't go backwards into my feelings or emotions that will hurt me or detrimentally destroy my mental status of where I am. We're gonna miss loved ones. I had to pull from the memories. I posted it on Facebook, one of the songs, Miss You, and I kind of shed a couple of tears because I know these would be, even from the graduations, proud moments for my dad to see where I'm at now with the children. And then I'm like, he's up in heaven, he's my angel, he sees, but it's nothing compared to him being right beside me again, and saying, Kimmy, it's going to be okay. So I called one of my adult girls. We went out and I was venting with her. And as I was telling you about before, Ron, when the last time I was on, because I changed agencies and everything, I just received my 90-day probation. So I'm excited to be able to talk and get back my therapist sessions because I really need it. I feel it. I need just that guardian, just that coping skills for me to be able to vent, for me to be able to let her know, these moments that I have, and then this dating, it's just ridiculous. It's all new. And I don't want my anxiousness, and I don't want my past, as we were talking about before, the hurt, the physical abuse, the mental abuse that I had encountered with my past with other men and relationships to spill over into something new. That's not who I am anymore. So I encourage and advocate because I know I need it. I've been through so much, and this is what I had to accept through my journey. I didn't even realize, Ron and Marty, that I had been through as much as I've been through until the book was done and published. I started doing live casts, and people were saying, oh my gracious, like, you have this, and I'm looking at it, I'm saying, you know what? Yeah, I have. And now I'm accepting it and embracing it. But you know what? It's okay. Back then, before I accepted it and I embraced it, and that's why I came up with that logo, it's because it wasn't okay. Because I was holding back from, did this really happen? And no, it wasn't that bad. But you know what? It's still a light down at the end of it because, she's going to come around. But that biological mother's going to come around and she's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to give you every answer that you need to hear. And we're going to sit down. Not so. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
I had to accept it.
Who do you know who's having difficulty making a good choice in life? The choices they make may be a matter of being dictated by their past, could be a matter of not having confidence to make good decisions. Let me encourage you to engage with that person, not in a way that would label them, not in a way that would stigmatize them, but rather just engage with them to help them make good decisions, help them overcome anything that might be keeping them from performing at their full potential, anything that may be dictating, dominating their decision process that could lead that person to making the wrong decisions. As we engage with people and effectively interrelate with them to develop relationships, what I'm asking you to do is to engage with people in a mentoring type of way such that we can help that person in their confidence level. Let's share this podcast with others. Let's engage and let's share the experiences we have of how we are advancing other people's lives.
I
Kimmy,
had to
talk to us a little bit more about resilience. Was it your biological, I mean, was it your adopted dad, Billy, Daddy Billy, that helped
that
you
bill,
develop
that bill.
resistance, or were you born with being resilient?
I think he helped cultivate it. I really believe that. And you know, viewers, even if they're not your biological children, if you're in a parent role and you have these minors and they're underneath your roof, you have that ability to set foundation and cultivate these resilience, these characteristics that we end up being adults and having, because I know my father did. Now, I also know the flip side, that my mother, also my adopted mother, the things that she said. That's why you have to really be careful the role that you play with your children and what you speak in and the example that you lead, because she helped that, what you call it, that low self-esteem from the time I was 9 or 10, and wasn't even aware of it, by her pointing out the differences of my features and my color. Like that was wrong. Like that was not acceptable. But yet, okay, I'm gonna just be very frank with you. She said my skin tone is very darker than theirs. So she said, you're a lot darker than us. You're brown, and you have the nigger nose, and you have features like the niggers, with the wide nose and the nose, but we still love you. But that right then rooted insecurity in me growing up. So I had to reinvest in myself, love myself enough, and self-care to allow me to look at my flaws and say that they're beautiful. But you see what could happen to a child, and from that foundation, this was 8 or 9. And I really believe she only said what she knew, not just to drastically hurt me, but it did. So I knew from having my children to absolutely do the opposite. And every last one of my children have different skin tones, but I know what I went through. So I advocate and let parents know, you have to be, regardless of whether they're your biological children or your adopted children or what, if you're in an adult parenting role, understand that you set some of that foundation, you cultivate some of their characteristics and personalities, and their, as you were saying, Ron, their resilience. My dad was cultivating the things. He had so much awareness of me. When I would go in my bedroom, I would just lay on the bed and be listening to the radio. This was around 7 or 8, very quiet. I didn't say anything. I would just steal away from all the adults and go in my bedroom. And he says, Kimmy, what you listening to? And I said, I'm just listening at the radio. And he says, you want to talk? You want to be alone? Yes. And he would give me my private space or time. But yet I would observe hearing him pray. I would observe hearing him sing religious songs, spiritual. I would also hear him say in the morning, and each time that we would sit down and have meals together, Kimmy, we always thank God for our blessings, for our food that we're about to receive. He set that. He set the tone for me to continue to build on my resilience. And if it hadn't been for him to help that happen, I wouldn't have been able to come out or have the courage to come out of those toxic relationships that I found myself in.
Talk to us a little bit more, Kimmy. What I'm going to ask you is a call to action for the person who is experiencing or has experienced something similar to you, but they may not right now have a Daddy Billy in their life, that positive influence. What would you tell that person as a call to action, maybe in the context of a self-awareness, investing in yourself as you have? What would be a call to action to these people that you would say, you don't have to be who you've been told you are? You can invest in yourself and you can overcome all of this. But to the person who says, Kimmy, that just sounds too hard for me, how would you encourage them?
Well, first I would say it's okay to want to change. you want that change bad enough, you can absolutely have it. It's nothing wrong with wanting to change. And if you feel that that is the way that you are right now, is not durable. I had to find out and understand that my feelings, my anxiousness, my insecurities, my low self-worth, I never harbored bitterness, but I didn't want the feeling of rejection. So what I did, I tried to hold on to everything that came into my life, good or bad. And most of it was bad, but I was like, I'd be damned if it's going to go, because I have that control. I don't want it to go. I don't, this rejection is just too terrible. If it goes, then here I go again into the rejection of that, from that foundation. So if there's a want in it, I had to want that change. And I just knew that my life, and if anyone is hearing that understands that this is not acceptable, this doesn't feel good, each morning, each day, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to be like this. I don't want each relationship to be a generational curse or a pattern of healthy relationships, unhealthy habits or styles that hurting them. And you can. It's not selfish. You can have that change. Whatever has been positive in your life, whatever has made that smile or that feeling of a little joy or peace, whether it's nature, whether it's another friend, or anyone, I encourage you to hold on to that. Go and chase it. Chase it. Stop chasing the wrong thing that you're getting the same results to put you where you're at. And that's what I was doing. I was chasing the wrong, chasing to keep me into that negative mentality of wanting something that Ron and Marty never came. Never came. And guess what? I still have to adjust. I still have to stay in the same hometown. I still have to raise my children that they know my past and who their family are and not be connected. But I choose to do it with a smile. I choose to do it with love. I choose to do it to let them know that this is about our peace and my legacy. And if something happens to me, I would expect for you to have the love in the heart, just like I have, to know the truth and say, if there's anything that I have, anything that they can do for anybody, then they will be able to do it, because they know where their mother has came from. They know my journey and the self-investment that I had strived for, to first let them know and accept the truth and embrace it and move forward. We're not the people of moving backwards or standing still. As my dad would always tell me, he said, baby, whatever you do in life, understand this. And I know it's a biblical verse, but he says, when we're living in this economy and this type of world that we want things just like that, a quick fix. So this is not how journey in life is. He said, never forget, you endure no matter what you do. You endure till the end. You move forward and keep going until the end. You don't stop. He said, and if you stop and stumble, maybe you get up and you keep on going, even if you have to crawl. And there's been some times that I had to crawl, Ron and Marty. I had to crawl my way out of things and say, look, if I got to stay in the shelter to get peace, and know that my self-worth is not meant to be beat on. Know my self-worth is not meant to be cussed at. Know my self-worth is not to be hurt, but be loved. Then this is what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to crawl myself out of this situation.
That is very, very well said. And I don't think any of our listeners would doubt your resilience. I think one way to characterize what you said and are saying on your journey, Kimberly, is that anyone who makes the choice to break the chain of past events can. If you need to, you find somebody who can help you break the chain of past events, but you will overcome if you have that determined mindset.
Yes. And Ron, I'm so honored and privileged to be on here to let people know what I found in my late 40s. Love is not forced. Love is not begged. Love is not, hurtful. Love is beautiful. And love is bound to come to receive. It might not come where you think it should come. Just like when I told you and Marty, when I came on, I said, just the support that I felt from the very first time that I got on with you guys is what I felt again. And that helps me. That helps my journey. But you would think, I've stopped looking for where assuming where it's supposed to come from, but where God wants it to come from.
That's great, Kimberly. I want to thank you on behalf of our listeners of telling us your story. And you have had a very notable life, but the journey you're on is great. And you are going to continue to have a notable journey. And you are an inspiration to many of our people. And I want to thank you for the life that you're leading and the hope that you represent to many of us.
Yes. Well, I appreciate it. Well, I tell you, I tell her, if I could do it, if I could feel this free, I want everyone to feel this free because It's an awesome feeling. It's an awesome feeling.
That is just great. And Kimberly, thank you so much for sharing from your heart with our listeners.
Thank you.
Kimberly has a very positive message of life is a matter of choices. She has experienced a lot in life. She has experienced some things that people would say that you have a right to do whatever it is you choose to do. But Kimberly has made the choice to overcome. She is on a journey, and she is not going to carry forward her past into her future. She has a life to live. She has children to raise. She has a marriage to nurture, and she has friendships to make. She is a story of overcoming. She is on a journey, and she has experienced possibly more in life than most people have, but she has the attitude that she will overcome. She is a staunch advocate of not proclaiming to be a victim, but rather she's a victor. She will overcome in spite of the many things that she has experienced. Anything that some people could say you have a right to just be bitter, but Kimmy is saying that nope, I'm not going to be bitter. I'll be better in spite of it, and I'm moving on because that is my life choice. Do you know someone that is in your circle of influence, or do you know of someone who is possibly hanging on to the past because of things said to or about them that they need to overcome? They too need to make the right choices. They too need to overcome and enter a journey just as Kimberly Bell has, and she is on a life journey to improve herself in spite of her background. Let's work together. Let's engage with others. Let's reach out and have the courage to help people overcome anything of the past. We know that through God, He will allow us to experience some things in life, but He's promised that He'll never leave us nor forsake us, that with the experience of life, any encounters that we are enduring, we can become better because of it and actually through those various life experiences. As Kimberly has said, she made a choice. We too have the ability to make a choice to allow different events to be opportunities in life to improve our life experience, to fast forward our life endurances, our life experiences, to pass on the strengths that we're gaining through the various experiences we have. Marty and I are life coaches through the John Maxwell team, and that some people need the experience and the help of a coach to help overcome various life events. We want to be that person who can help you or anyone within your circle of influence to overcome. Let us know how we can interact with various people. We want to offer a complimentary 30-minute coaching session to help you determine, to help that person determine if we're the right person to help that person through anything that they're experiencing in life. Contact us at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, at thecooperculture.com. We hope we can have the opportunity to work with you to help you through anything that you may be encountering in life. We hope you will want to share this podcast with others within your circle of influence. We hope we can warrant a 5-star rating. We hope you'll want to subscribe to this series. We want to outreach with others and engage. We hope you'll share this podcast with those within your circle of influence, your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections, and anyone else within your circle of influence, so that we have the opportunity to work with you to advance others and help them live the most productive, efficient life that God has ordained them to have, to help people live the potential that God has ordained them to have. Let's work together, let's share, let's advance people. We look forward to working with you and sharing stories of your journey in life.